This woman said that her husband of 14 years was cheating with a higher ranking member of his unit. Now, when she found out, though, her husband was deployed. So instead of crashing out, she plotted with the other person's spouse to take it to the pits of hell. You already know what time it is. Story time. Let's go ahead and get into it. Alrighty, so they were high school sweethearts, got married young. They had 3 kids. He joined the military and, she supported him through everything, deployments, moves, the works. For the first few years, things seemed solid, like no issues. It wasn't until after their 3rd kid that she started to notice some little things, like nothing major and nothing in particular, but just, more of like a gut feeling, like something was off, but she couldn't quite put her finger on it. Then she started having some female health issues, if you know what I mean. Went to the doctor and, just out of habit, asked for an STD panel. They called her with the results, which, she already found suspicious because, most of the time they're just going to load it up into the system and, she was just going to see it in the app. But the fact that they called her, she was suspicious. She was like, what's going on? They let her know that she has the big G, which she found odd because, she had only been with her husband. Like literally that's been the only person that she's been with her entire life. She was confused and devastated, to say the least. But because her husband was deployed, she decided, you know what, this is my opportunity. I'm not going to confront him. I'm going to use this time to really plan out what I'm going to do and use this time to really run my investigation. Leaning into the relationships that she had built over the years, she was able to find out who this other person was. Now, it wasn't easy. It was not easy, but she knew that, it was something she needed to do. And she was like, by any means necessary. From there, she was able to track down who their spouse was. When she reached out to the spouse and explained what was happening, the spouse was like, you know what, I had a feeling that he was doing something this entire time, but I just couldn't quite put my finger on it and I couldn't find any proof. That's because he was just always so careful. But she also never in her right mind never imagined that he was having an affair with another man. After the initial shock, they decided that they was going to team up and work together to, like I said, take it to the pits of hell. Now they gathered their evidence, they put everything together and reported it to the military. And they knew that they needed to have all of their ducks in a row, because in a lot of cases when the military finds out these type of things, or when people, try to report stuff, they have a tendency to sweep it under the rug. Now, this is just based on what they told me. I'm not in the military, so I can't say for certain. So again, this is just based on what they're telling me. But with what they shared, their receipts, plus the fact that the situation involved a higher ranking member and a subordinate, it triggered a massive investigation. The entire time the investigation was going on, both women, carried on business as usual as much as they could, because it did get to a place where, their husbands did confront them separately, individually. And, that led to other conversations, but we'll get into that in a bit. Time goes on and, they're eventually brought into the situation, the husbands, that is. And eventually, her husband confronted her about the situation. Now, he was more angry about her going to his superiors before coming to him, claiming that it was all a lie that she was making up in her mind. But eventually, the truth came out, because what's done in the dark shall come to light. He had been having same-sex relationships with other men in the military throughout his service. And for the last 3 years, he had been having an affair with a higher-ranking member of his unit, another man who was also married to a woman. Now, here's where it got real messy. The man her husband was having an affair with had power and influence. So when the investigation started getting crazy, he threw her husband under the bus, used his rank and his connections to protect himself. And the outcome, her husband was discharged, kicked out the military, lost everything. Meanwhile, the man that he was having an affair with just demoted. The system protected the higher ranking officer like it usually does. Once things were wrapped up, she filed for divorce. And because of how everything happened and all the proof that she had, she got almost everything that she wanted in the divorce without much pushback from him. She's raising the kids in the same house. He had to move and find somewhere else to live, obviously, and she's rebuilding her life. She said the worst part wasn't the cheating, it was the lying. The years of deception, putting her in a place to question almost the 2 decades that they had known each other. The fact that he had put her health at risk and didn't care still angers her to this day. But she's working on moving forward. She started therapy earlier this year to help her through everything, but she has tons of support from her family as well as other military spouses, including the woman whose husband, her husband, was having an affair with. She also divorced his behind once everything wrapped up.